Our seas are beautiful and productive. They are the lifeblood of a wonderful array of wildlife. The Isle of May rises like a jewel from the waters off the east coast of Scotland. And as spring approaches, it is transformed into a haven for wildlife as 250,000 seabirds return ashore to breed. It's truly a celebration of life. The arrival of one seabird in particular is eagerly anticipated. The Atlantic puffin is welcomed back each year as a cherished friend. For 7 months of the year, puffins endure the storms and challenges of the open ocean. But springtime brings a remarkable change to their lifestyle. Sporting their fresh breeding plumage, the puffins come ashore in their tens of thousands. At the top of the marine food web, puffins can tell us a lot about what is happening below the waves. And recently, all does not appear to be well. North Sea puffin colonies have recently suffered dramatic population declines. Long associated with smiles and laughter, is the puffin story turning into one of tragedy? As the spring flowers bloom, the puffins venture onto land from their home in the waves. With webbed feet and short stubby wings expertly adapted to swimming and diving, they are somewhat unstable in the air and clumsy on land. Puffins nest underground in burrows, which they dig with their sturdy bills and clawed feet, although a sneaky few will take advantage of abandoned rabbit holes. Homing in on the same burrow used in previous years, renovation work begins. Of particular importance is the collection of comfortable nesting material. Naturally inquisitive, puffins can be nosy neighbours, and disputes over burrows are common. Ritualised gaping contests can avoid harmful confrontations. But with two equally matched contenders, sometimes a tussle is the only way to settle it. Puffins mate for life, and courtship begins in earnest as couples feverishly rekindle their bond after spending many months apart at sea. Couples billing can become a spectator sport, drawing in crowds of eager onlookers from nearby. Over-enthusiastic spectators may try to join in. A quick reminder that three's a crowd may be in order. All this activity means puffins require high-energy food sources. On nearby sandbanks, the answer awaits. Sand eels are small, oil-rich fish which burrow into the sand. Diving up to 30 metres depth, puffins are adept at catching these tiny fish in their bills. Puffin chicks, known as pufflings, remain in the safety of their burrow, where their parents will rear them on a diet largely composed of sand eels. Of course, life is not without its perils. Puffins are nervous on land and in the air, and they have every reason to be so. The great black-backed gull is a formidable predator. With a wingspan of over 5 feet and the agility to pluck a victim straight from the air, it inspires fear in all seabirds. By flying in flocks, the puffins reduce their risk of being caught. Puffins must be cautious on the burrow slope too. Lesser black-backed gulls patrol here. Any puffin carrying fish nearby will be robbed of their meal. And with young chicks to feed, a gull's appetite may run to more than just fish. Back at the cliff edge, today the puffins escaped the great black-backed gull. It was the guillemots that succumbed. As the puffins go about their breeding business on land, there is a mysterious force at work in the North Sea, which has caused an unexpected decline in the number of puffins returning to breed in the Isle of May. Professor Mike Harris of the Centre of Ecology and Hydrology wants to solve the mystery.
My work on the Isle of May started in 1973, and I chose it as a place to work because it was one of the few places in Britain where the numbers of puffins were increasing quite dramatically. In 2003, it had got up to somewhere between 70 and 80,000 burrows. So when 2008 we decided we'd better do another complete count, see what was going on, we were very worried when we could only find 43,000, whereas we expected 100,000. So without a doubt the population has declined quite dramatically.
Scientists based on the Isle of May are trying to narrow down what is happening to the puffins to cause such a marked population decline. By ringing puffins, they are able to keep track of the numbers returning to breed on the island, giving an estimate of survivorship from year to year. It's tricky to gain an insight into a puffin's diet while it is at a breeding colony. By placing a mist net on the burrow slope, puffins can be caught as they fly to and from the sea. If the puffin is carrying fish in its bill, the fish can be identified and measured. Fluctuations in the size and abundance of prey fish can be detected in this way. Checking the condition of the youngsters is also vital, along with ringing them to check up on their progress in subsequent years. The recent 30% decline in puffin numbers suggests something is seriously amiss. Could the puffins simply be failing to raise offspring?
Puffins live a long time. They live up to 30, 35, 40 years. Although over the last 20 years they've produced slightly less young year by year, they're still producing a lot by most people's standards. So we've no reason to suppose that it's a decline, a failure in the breeding itself.
In fact, the signs point to a collapse in the puffin's winter food supply in the North Sea. Emaciated puffin bodies have washed up along the North Sea coasts in recent years, and less adults appear to be returning to breed.
What we actually do is follow about 200 individually colour-marked puffins every year, clock them in, clock them out. Most years, on average, about 85% of the birds come back. We miss a few, so if you put that into the calculations, usually the survival from one year to another is 90%. Over the two previous winters, we only saw about 60% of our marked birds. So we now know that the breeding's all right and the adult survival is poor. And we're almost certain that's what's driving the population decline.
The challenge is narrowing down exactly where the problems are occurring. Puffins disperse widely across offshore areas of the North Sea during winter, and precious little is known about their feeding habits during this time. That is, up until now.
This last few years, new technology has come along which gives us the option of attaching small devices to the ring of a bird, which magically, to my mind, manages to tell us when the birds leave the area of the Isle of May. You can see where they go, you can see how long they stay there and when they come back. Once we know where the puffins are going, we can at least link up with oceanographers and fish biologists to try to find out what changes are going on in these parts of the ocean.
So what is behind these changes to the marine environment that are causing such problems while the puffins are overwintering at sea? The North Sea has experienced a 2 degrees centigrade rise in sea temperature over the last 20 years. It is thought this warming has caused disruption to the marine food web. The distribution of plankton is shifting northwards, and with it, the fish species that prey on it. Perhaps areas of the North Sea are becoming increasingly sparse of fish as climate change forces an exodus northwards, leaving puffins and other seabirds starving in fishless waters. Following the collapse of many fish stocks, fisheries are now targeting marine species that are considered unfit for human consumption. High on the industrial fishery agenda is the sand eel, among other species favoured by seabirds. These fish are harvested from the seas to meet the demand for feedstuffs for intensive agriculture and fish oil products. Such competition between man and natural predators has got to give somewhere. Perhaps puffins now find themselves on the losing side. Towards the end of summer, under cover of darkness, small, sooty-faced pufflings leave their burrows to indulge their natural instinct to find the sea. Venturing down to the coast alone, the sensation of wet feet and soggy feathers is a novelty. The desire to reach the sea, where they will spend the next 3 years among the waves before returning to land to breed, overpowers any fears. At a time of increasing concern over warming global climate, changing conditions in the oceans and the health of fish stocks, along with the creatures which depend on them, it is a privilege to have the company of the bright and colourful puffin each year on our shores. They can indicate vital information about the health of our oceans and bring delight and amusement to those lucky enough to spend time with them. By respecting and protecting the puffin's marine home as best we can make sure this light of the sea does not flicker or diminish.